Hey folks, Karyn Bryant here for MMA Heat, talking with Sodiq Yusuff, who is taking on Andre Fili at UFC 246 this Saturday. Listen, I have to tell you this, Sodiq. I was doing the podcast with Alan Joban the other day. He said this is the fight he's most fired up for. Both of us were really fired up for this one, really jonesing for this one. So how psyched were you when you got the basically the call to fight Fili?
Yeah, I was super excited. Not because of the card that we're on, but because of the matchup. I like when I get put up against another exciting fighter. That usually brings out the best out of me.
Well, I do want to get to stuff about the card in a minute because obviously we kind of have to talk about that. But yeah, what is it about Andre right now, the way he's fighting? Why do you think you guys will have an exciting matchup?
Because just based off of video, he hasn't seemed to be someone that tries to go for a boring fight, and he's constantly moving, constantly going forward, and even when he's not going forward, it's a lot of high-paced action. And the type of fighter that I am, I know I'm going to shine in those moments.
Well, that's what's fun about you. So you're 3-0 in the UFC right now, right? That's pretty great, but it's the type of thing where people are starting to pay attention to you now, starting to pay more attention to you, and so that is one of those things that I wonder. Obviously a lot of time I'm working. I worked your fight against Shaman, and I've worked I think a few of your fights, and when we have a new fighter and we're describing them, we're talking about them, like I always think, I wonder how he wants to be described. Like, how do you picture yourself? How do you, when we're talking about you, how do you want us to describe you?
I don't mind the way that the press has been describing me so far, because it is who I am. If you just watch one of my fights, it's kind of easy to see like, oh, okay, this is the type of show this guy's gonna bring. And luckily for me, it's a fan friendly style, so it helps out not just my popularity, but the companies want to put me in a better position.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that's what is obviously helping to sell tickets nowadays is all the things that you do outside of the octagon. But so far in there, what do you think has been sort of your favorite moments? Did you do anything in any of your fights yet? You were like, that was pretty tight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're feeling pretty good about yourself already.
Well, any finish is always good, Like, one of my favorite moments was, like, not even in the UFC. Like, my pro debut, I was able to get a pretty clean left hook knockout. So that was probably one of my favorite moments.
Nice. Very nice. Well, it's funny, too, because I told Shaman after that fight, because, he was disappointed that he lost to you. But I remember, I don't know if you remember, we rode up in the elevator together and you were like, I didn't know he was going to be that tough. Like, that was a tougher fight than you expected, And I told Shaman that after. I was like, I know maybe it's not a lot of comfort, but at least, you should know that Sodiq thought you were really, really tough. So that said, and maybe you slightly underestimated an opponent once before and got the win. So when you look at Fili now, when you're prepping for this one, now it's your 4th UFC fight. You're undefeated. Like, there is more on the line for you, right? So has your preparation changed or anything like that? How you're getting ready for these fights?
The preparation has mostly been the same, It's like ever since I started doing the sport, I've never not given it 100% at practice. That's how I was able to get to this position. I always put my best foot forward, and so far, I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it. There's not really much that I can change in terms of training. The only thing that changes will be like based off the opponent that you're fighting. They might use different body types and stuff like that.
Well, so Andre's been doing very well takedown-wise, scoring a lot of takedowns as well. So are you expecting him to try to shoot on you? What kind of fight do you think you two are going to have?
Even though I say it's going to be exciting, sooner or later I know the shot is going to come, and I've been working very hard and addressing that. I feel like this fight is going to show different aspects of my game that people haven't seen yet. Very
nice. Well, it's a perfect time for you to show off a little bit, Sodiq, because obviously it is a big, huge card. There's a guy named Conor on it, guy named Cowboy on it, so you know that eyeballs are going to be there. So when you heard about the fight being on that card, I know you mentioned it at the top of the interview here, but so yeah, what extra feelings did that give you, knowing that you were going to be on such a high-profile card?
And when I first heard that they wanted me on that card, I was like, "Oh man, I must be making somebody happy." That means you're doing the right things, because they keep, because the last card I was on too was a pretty big card, Yeah. So as long as it stays on this consistent basis, I can't complain. It's a blessing.
Right, it is a blessing for sure. Are you, I don't want to say fan, right? Because sometimes to ask another fighter if they're a fan of somebody is kind of a weird thing. But what is your take on Conor? Since you know you're a featherweight and this is a man who was in that division.
That's not anything that bothers me. You know, I'm a fan of a lot of fighters, even some that are in my same division. Before I ever got into the sport, I was a fanatic in the first place. You know, and that doesn't mean you can't, just because you're in the same sport as them or because you're in the weight class doesn't mean you can't show them the respect that they deserve. Right. There's a lot. We're the best in the world. That's why we all got here. You know.
Absolutely. So do you consider? Some people consider Jose Aldo the GOAT of the featherweights, right? And then some people think, well, Conor took out the GOAT, so maybe he is. I don't know what your take is. Do you have a person in mind that you think is the featherweight GOAT?
It's tricky, you know, but I wouldn't give it to Conor. I'm tempted to give it to Aldo, but I want to lean more towards Max Holloway, you know. Nice. But it's tricky because the type of sport that we're in, once you lose, it kind of like people try to discredit you a lot, you know. So that's the battle I'm having with myself with picking Max over Aldo, because Aldo did do a lot of good stuff, but I think I don't know. I'll Aldo.
Well, that's the thing. No, you're 100% right. I mean, Max Holloway is already a legend, and then now you have Volkanovski to see what he's going to accomplish. Did you see that one coming? Did you see Alex beating Max?
No. I actually thought Max was gonna be able to get that win, you know. But Volkanovski came in with a good, not even just a good game plan, a good execution on his game plan. You know, there wasn't any point at that fight where he looked like he was struggling to find what to do, or he didn't know exactly what to do next.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed. I have to say I'm a huge Max Holloway fan, but there is something to be said for, you know, shaking up the division a little bit, starting to change things up, and now we can get some other kind of matchups.
Yes, 100%, man. And that's the only bad thing about our sport is like one person has to win and one person has to lose. But as long as we have people like you that have that kind of attitude about still supporting the winner or the loser, that would make it a much better place to be in. But like you said, one person has to lose, you know, and him losing does help the division out a little bit. Yeah. But you never want to be too happy about anybody else's downfall, you know.
Absolutely. Speaking of somebody's downfall, though, one that I feel like was particularly probably satisfying for you to watch was Kamaru Usman defeating Colby Covington. We've been talking about sort of the African wave of fighters, right? And I know you have a lot of pride, you know, a lot of pride from where you come from. So what did that win mean for you? Did it feel like a win for sort of all of you guys?
Man, every single time. It's not even just necessarily that fight. Whenever you see, like, I'll even take this outside of fighting. Whenever I see these like Hollywood directors and I find out like, oh, she's Nigerian or something like that, like little things like that is like a small win for our people is a big win for the country, you know, because it portrays us in a positive light. There's some bad stereotypes that come with being Nigerian, you know, but we're just trying to put that in the back burner, outshine that, you know, and it's also good motivation for the kids back home too. I say MMA is one of these sports where you don't need a specific body type and you don't need to be born poor or rich. It's just the work that you put in, and you could go real far just off work ethic alone.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the story that Francis tells coming from Cameroon and changing his whole entire life, just deciding to do that, it really is incredible. And I do know that, yeah, when people see you, people see Israel, people see Kamaru, there is a real sense of, hey, wait a minute now, there's that inclusion. I could probably do that too now. And I don't know if, you know, a lot of people don't feel that. I'm half Jamaican, right? Aljamain and I have talked about this a lot. If we could do something to raise up Jamaican fighters who just need to see that representation and see that it's a possibility. So that said, have you been home recently? I think you did go, right, and sort of do some outreach stuff there.
Yeah, 100%. I've been now that I'm in a better financial situation, it's easier for me. Before, what I used to do is I'll go home and stay for like a month or two. Yeah. But now I'm in a financial better situation. I could take multiple trips, which now I can stay for shorter periods of time. And like it's really fun because now it never gets to the point where, all right, I'm ready to leave. You know? Yeah. It's always times with the rest of your family. So I don't know the next time I'm gonna go back because I'm gonna try to get a little bit busy, especially if I could get a quick finish in this fight. I'm gonna try to get a little bit busier, you know.
Very nice. Well, no, that would be great. And if you could maybe put into context what it would mean for a UFC Africa to happen. I mean, obviously there's EFC Africa. It's not that they don't have fighting over there, right? Because EFC is doing great stuff. But what would it mean for the Octagon to be over there?
I've been waiting, man. I've been waiting for a while. You know, I'm pretty. If it doesn't happen this year, I'm gonna be very, very surprised. You know, no matter what my schedule is looking like around that time, I'm 100% gonna try to get on that card. I might pull out of one fight to get into that one. You know, so that's definitely the goal. I hope they go this year because, like you said, EFC runs like whenever I go back home, it's constantly on TV. It's constantly on TV. So I know they have an arena for it, you know, we could go to South Africa somewhere, you know, just it got to happen this year, you know, because it's a perfect time. Right now, a lot of African fighters are shining right now. We got 2 champions.
No, I agree with you 100%. If it's in South Africa, I don't care where it is. The only place in Africa I've been so far is Morocco, and I absolutely loved it, but I want to go over there. And it's funny because I'm the assistant coach of my daughter's basketball team, and there's a couple of girls, and they're like, one of the girls' dad is a Kenyan diplomat, and I'm like, oh, like, how do I pitch this to the Kenyan diplomat about, like, you know, so I'm going to try to do my little work on this as well, Sodiq, because I think it really needs to happen. But so, yeah, you're hoping for a few fights this year. Yeah, ideally, how does the fight with Touchy Fili go? How do you see it playing out when you visualize it?
When I visualize it, I kind of see a slugfest, you know. I see me getting a finish, but if the finish don't come, I don't mind it. But I do see a high-paced fight.
Nice. Very nice. And do you have a winner in mind for Cowboy versus Conor?
That's man, I thought about it because they asked me about it yesterday, and at first I was leaning towards Cowboy just because he has multiple tools. I was very, very surprised when I saw the odds, like how big of a difference the odds, you know. But I'm guessing they're thinking because of how slow Cowboy starts off, and he does stand up, like he stands pretty straight up, and Conor's he's gonna launch that rocket no matter what, you know. So
right. And Conor is used to the seriously high pressure cooker situation a little bit more, but I was just saying, you know, the other thing was when you look at what Cowboy did to Alex Hernandez, you know, last January. Like, old dog can still bark pretty hard, so.
Yeah, Alex starts off really, really fast, you know. So, but the thing is, Conor, even though he starts off fast, but it's very, how do I explain it? Alex is kind of like all over the place, you know. Like Conor's kind of like straight down the middle, you know. So it's a little bit different, but I don't know. I know.
The same thing. You could argue it either way because I think it's very winnable for both guys, and it is the type of thing that you could go back and forth. But lucky for you, being on that prelims, you'll already be showered and fresh and clean and tight, and you know, like done your interviews already, and then you'll be able to just go and enjoy that one, right?
Exactly, with some ice cream in my hand.
Nice. Oh, that's right. The ice cream, nobody knows. Like, oh, obviously some people know about it, but the ice cream backstage, you guys freak out if they don't have the ice cream back there. I've seen it, and I've seen it happen, and it's not cool.
100%. I'm down to the point now where I have people run up and get my own from the store, you know, because I have some specific like Ben and Jerry and Haagen-Dazs flavors that I want like right after the fight.
Which are?
Half baked, that would be the Ben and Jerry.
Nice.
But Haagen-Dazs would be the caramel cone or the Swiss almond.
Thank you. See, I feel you on the caramel, like the dulce de leche, that caramel in there. I never eat ice cream anymore, but if I'm gonna, that's the one.
You're missing out, man. You know, I don't smoke or drink, you know, so that's like my biggest vice right there.
There you go. That's why you get the half-baked ice cream, so right? Awesome. Well, listen, before we get out of here, I'm actually going to have you play a round of no wrong answers with us, Sodiq. But first, I do want to say thank you for the interview and best of luck against Touchy Fili at UFC 246.
No worries.